Hey YouTube, what's going on? It's Kevin the Tech Ninja here, and I've been using this guy, the 14-inch MacBook Pro for 30 days, and I got some things to say. So hang on after the break and we'll talk about it. Today's video is brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends. Click on the link in the description below and hit download to get the biggest and best RPS Raid Shadow Legends. Tons of things are happening in Raid this month, special events every single day, and a bunch of awesome new champions, and the brand new Guardian Ring that gives you loads of new ways to play and use your champions. And bosses like Sylvania, Guardian of the Spirit Keep. She heals up half her health every time she gets a turn and also deals out bonus damage based on how much HP she has left. At the start of December, Raid is releasing one of its biggest and most anticipated features ever. With all these updates and even a bigger one around the corner, now is the perfect time to get started with Raid. Don't wait and get left behind. If you want a huge head start in Raid, make sure you hit my link down below and press download. Now when you do that, you get an epic hero, Koranaru, 200k silver, XP boost, 1 energy fill, and 1 ancient shard, so you can summon an awesome champion as soon as you get the game. All these rewards will be waiting for you, but only for the next 30 days. So this MacBook is the entry-level MacBook, and I bought this from Best Buy. Hit my links down below to check it out from Best Buy because they actually have different models out there available compared to Apple's website. Relatively the same price, but the one at Best Buy had this MacBook Pro, but with 1 terabyte of hard drive, and my local Apple store only had it available with 512 gigabytes of hard drive. So make sure you hit my link down below. So since I've been using this MacBook for 30 days, I can easily answer the question, is this MacBook the right MacBook for you? Or is this laptop in general the best laptop you can buy for your money? So to kind of give you guys some background really quick here, my personal laptop that I use every single day as my own, that I've been using for about a year now, is the M1 13-inch MacBook Pro. Has the older processor in it, and my wife uses the MacBook Air M1 13-inch as well. Now the reason I wanted to switch to the 14-inch was for a number of reasons. It wasn't for the extra inch, it really wasn't for the new chip, it was for the extra ports. You know, as a person who travels and works on content on the go, I don't want to have to bring this dongle or this dock or whatever I have to bring when I travel. I have left dongles before, and it was like a last minute rush to find a dongle somewhere, running to Best Buy in a different town. It's just, for me, having the ports just makes life so much easier. And this one definitely has the ports. Looking around the laptop, you can see that we have the 2 Thunderbolt ports. We have the MagSafe charging connector, a headphone jack, and we also have our HDMI, another Thunderbolt, and an SD card slot. So for me, that is huge, having the ports, being able to have HDMI, even though it's not like a super high-end HDMI. I wish it was DisplayPort. Now, when I made the switch between the 13 and the 14-inch, I didn't notice a huge difference as far as like how it felt on my lap or how it felt when I was working. But when you look at the bezels on the screen, that is the big difference. On the 14-inch, the screen real estate is much bigger because you don't have those bezels all around it. Now, of course, there is the notch, and we'll talk about the notch a little bit later, but that is the main difference when I switched and sort of why I switched in the first place. I would say overall, the build is much more refined, I think. I like how it's more squared off. As the other ones are sort of curved a little bit, this is kind of squared off, and it's thicker. Like I like that it's thicker, it feels more substantial. It feels like a workhorse, it feels like a powerhouse, and that's kind of what I'm looking for when I have a MacBook. Now there are slots on here as well. Now these slots are for the fans, and you know, day-to-day usage, the fans don't kick on much, but if you push it, like you're running a benchmark, or when I go into After Effects and I'm rendering out some type of tracking or motion like that, then the fans do kick on, but they only kick on during that activity and then they turn back off. It's not like the 16-inch Intel that used to sound like a jet taking off. It actually doesn't kick on a ton, and when it does, it makes sense of when it kicks on. So I don't have a problem with the fans on this thing at all. The screen looks great. When you're watching Dolby Vision content or even just regular content on YouTube or anything like that, The screen is really good. It gets very bright, so if you're using it outside at a coffee shop or anything like that, this laptop will be very visible even in direct sunlight. Now with HDR, the peak brightness, there is a difference. You can definitely see the peak brightness. Looking at some of these clips here, you can see the whites and the brights really shining through, and it is significant. So the screen looks very good. And of course, yeah, we do have to talk about the notch. The thing is ugly, I get it, but once again, it's one of those things that you sort of disappear while you're using your laptop. Let's say you have a dark background, then of course you're not gonna see it. And a lot of apps that I use aren't in full screen all the way, so it's just part of the toolbar, and it's ugly, whatever, but you move on eventually. Now for me, I find this keyboard very comfortable. There is a difference between this keyboard and last year's keyboard. Although it's not significant, it's enough changes to make typing a little bit better for me. I feel like the keys are not as slick as last year's, where these keys are like really slick, almost like piano finish, versus these keys, which has a little bit more bite to it, a little bit more grip to it, which I definitely like. Now there is no touch bar at all anymore. As you can see, there's no touch bar here, but now you have physical keys up top. And you know what? I don't mind the physical keys at all. I didn't hate the touch bar as much as most people. It sort of had a futuristic look to it, which I actually liked, but the touch bar is gone. I don't hate that it's gone, but it's just one of those things that Apple decided to kind of rear back and kind of go back to the old style of MacBook as far as how it's built and sort of how it looks. I do love the Touch ID to unlocking the laptop and logging in and authenticating and making purchases. This is really nice. It's a shame that I can't use it often because I use my laptop in the docked format so much, but I really love having this key here, and it works really fast as far as logging in and confirming payments and anything like that. Of course, you do have the oversized touchpad, which makes it easy to go between apps and do gestures and all those things like that. Nothing here has changed, but once again, just the overall body and keyboard and touchpad situation is really good. I'm very happy with it. Now let's talk about performance. Now, coming from a previous generation of M1, the performance isn't leaps and bounds as far as everyday usage compared to the previous generation, but everything is just faster. Like everything feels faster. Opening Final Cut is just a little bit faster. Rendering a video is just faster. Going between web pages and loading web pages and things like that, and tracking motion and After Effects is just, everything just is faster. Now, if you've never used M1 before, then the speed differences will be much more dramatic. I mean, coming from an Intel-based Mac to a M1 Mac, you're gonna see significant differences as far as everything, even unlocking the laptop. Now check this out. When I open the screen opens up, turns on that fast. Every little thing you do with this laptop is just that much faster than what you've used to expect. Because I remember back in the day, you flip this bad boy open, it took 4 or 5 seconds for it to show up. Everything here is just so much more refined and just so much faster. The M1 chip, in the last 5 years, one of the greatest computer accomplishments that I have recognized and something that I've been able to take advantage of, if that makes sense. Now for me, the biggest thing is that I use Final Cut for editing, and being able to cut through footage extremely fast is very important to me. My previous M1 cut through footage fast, so that's not a big deal. But once you start adding in different layers and you add in text and you may have, a multi-camera setup like I do, I have 2 cameras right now, then editing that, it does get a little bit harder for the machine. The machine does struggle, I wouldn't say struggle, but the machine does drop frames when doing that. This machine has not dropped frames one time when editing 2 streams of 4K at the exact same time with denoising and different type of effects over the top. All those things with my plugins running and music or whatever else I'm doing, I have not had an issue at all. And I don't foresee myself having an issue going forward. Now, this is the base model MacBook Pro. This is not like the Macs or even the ones with more GPU core. This is the base model, and I have no problems with it when it comes to the way I work and the way I use my computer. Now, I don't think I have the most demanding workflow around, as I just use Final Cut, and I may have 2 video files at the same time, and maybe I'll throw it in After Effects to track some motion and some graphics, but beyond that, that's everything I'm doing. And for me, this machine is more than enough for me, and I'm extremely happy with it. Beyond Final Cut, I do use things like Photoshop and Pixelmator and Craft Docs, and all those things run just fine. So battery life on the M1 is much better than the battery life on the M1 Pro. The M1 Pro is a faster chip. It's using more more energy, more wattage to actually run than the standard M1. So it does suck battery up a little bit faster, but battery life is still good. So I can do a full edit on this machine without a problem at all. I may be able to do a couple edits, and then it starts sort of getting low with battery life. Now for me, as I haven't been traveling a ton, I haven't really pushed it to the limits, but editing on my couch and editing in coffee shops and things like that, I do quite often. I don't worry about bringing a plug with me because I can get through my day's work on a single charge, which is really nice. On my wife's M1, she's a light user. She can literally get a week without charging it, which is pretty insane. So I will say battery life is really good, and the inclusion of the MagSafe is really nice too. When you do plug it in, it is magnetic now, so if someone runs over and like hits it or anything like that, it will pop back out. And just bringing back the MagSafe is a really nice feature that I'm glad Apple did. I don't mind using Thunderbolt 3 to charge, and you still can use Thunderbolt 3 to charge, which is not a problem at all. Having MagSafe to me is just a better charging solution. We gotta talk about these speakers. Wow. These speakers sound really, really good. I mean, you have two speakers here, and then you have two subs down here, which pumps the volume so well. I am blown away on how good this sounds when you're playing music or watching a movie. And think about it this way, you're watching a Dolby movie, and then you have this screen that looks really good, and then you have this audio, and at the same time, it's just amazing to just have this like little mini cinema right in front of you with the visuals and the sound to match. It is truly, truly remarkable. I will say the webcam is a lot better on this. It feels like Apple's finally putting love and attention into their webcam. So the webcam on the MacBook Pros previously were really bad. And so here's a video and audio sample of last year's MacBook Pro webcam. This is the webcam on the MacBook Pro 13-inch. How does it look and how does it sound compared to the iPhone and compared to the 14-inch? So now here's the webcam on this guy. This is the 14-inch MacBook Pro. Hey, this is the webcam on the 14-inch MacBook Pro. How does it look and how does it sound? Of course, let me know down below. Would you be comfortable using this in a Zoom or a Skype call? So yeah, big difference. How it looks, how it sounds, all those things is definitely a big difference. And yeah, I am actually happy to do a video conference call with this now. It doesn't look as bad as it did previously. Could it be better? Sure, it still could be better. And for what you're paying, I would hope that they continue to make this better, but at the same time, I am content of where it's at today. So yeah, I literally have been gushing over this laptop and I haven't said any cons just yet. So are there cons? That is something that when I do a review, I wanna make sure it's balanced to talk about pros and cons. And to be honest, the only con that I have, and it's very, very small, on the keyboard and the touchpad, it gets oily easily. Like the keys start to look gross really fast. Even though I wipe the keys down, I've done all those things before, the keys just start to get oily really fast. And honestly, that's the only con that I could think of. Outside it being a little bit more expensive and things like that, which is always subjective, as this is a tool that I use to make money, a tool that I use to work. It's kind of hard to put a dollar amount behind that. And the entry-level version of this laptop, I don't think is that much more money than a comparable Windows laptop, to be honest. Anyways, it's really hard to find something that is truly wrong with this laptop. It's only been 30 days, and you know, I've been using it every day as my machine and every day as the machine that I use to communicate to the world, to make videos, and the way I use computers. And it has been just mind-blowing how much faster it is than my already fast laptop and how much more they refined every little thing that I didn't like about the previous year's laptop. Anyways, guys, those were my thoughts. I know they were like very, very sheep-like, if you will, but I am honestly blown away with this laptop. And yeah, I'm actually very happy with my purchase. Kevin the Tech Ninja here. Hopefully you have yourself a great day. Talk to you guys later. Peace.